Skull full of scripture carved black bruising flame. Lucifer whispers while I baptize in pain. Eucharist shattered, I'm gnawing on rust. Bone marrow chalice, spit blood, breathe dust. Ritual static, my pulse is a curse. Pentagram, heartbeat inverted in verse. You call it rebellion, I call it my truth. Drag God through the grave while I feast on his proof. Conservative Satanists spit in your face. Don't care if you choke when you gag on my grace. Red in my vision, black smoke in my chest. I die for my values, I'll kill for the rest. Purge with a hatchet, morality rots. Politic puppets get strung up in knots. Family and faith and your cross to defile. I guard what I love with infernal denial. You brand me a traitor for not drinking left, but freedom's a weapon I wield till my death. A father, a keeper, a wolf with a creed. Gun smoke and scripture, the tools that I bleed. Crown of revolvers, my halo of lead. Prophets go silent when vultures are fed. Banner of ashes, I raise it and swear. No tyrant, no preacher will poison my air. Legacy sharpened on edges of sin. Carve out a kingdom of marrow and skin. Freedom's my gospel, I bleed it and burn. Every betrayal, the lesson I've learned. Crosses collapse under weight of my will. I don't need salvation, I need to stand still. Conservative Satanists fight in my veins. I baptize in chaos, I'm breaking the chains. Crimson horizon, black iron sky. I'm not here to follow, I'm here to defy. Smoke in the chapel, the scripture is torn. I build what I am from the wreckage of thorns. No crown above me, no leash on my breath. I feast with the devils and dance with my death. Skull full of scripture carved back, bruised and flame. Lucifer whispers while I baptize in pain. Eucharist shattered, I'm gnawing on rust. Bone marrow chalice, spit blood, breathe dust. Ritual static, my pulse is a curse. Pentagram, heartbeat inverted in verse. You call it rebellion, I call it my truth. Drag God through the grave while I feast on his proof. Conservative Satanists spit in your face. Don't care if you choke when you gag on my grace. Red in my vision, black smoke in my chest. I die for my values, I'll kill for the rest. Purge with a hatchet, morality rots. Politic puppets get strung up in knots. Family and faith, then you'll cross to defile. I guard what I love with infernal denial. You brand me a traitor for not drinking left, but freedom's a weapon I wield till my death. A father, a keeper, a wolf with a creed. Gun smoke and scripture, the tools that I bleed. My altar I carve in the stone. I walk through the void and I stand all alone. Crown of revolvers, my halo of lead. Prophets go silent when vultures are fed. Banner of ashes, I raise it and swear. No tyrant, no preacher will poison my air. Legacy sharpened on edges of sin. Carve out a kingdom of marrow and skin. Freedom's my gospel, I bleed it and burn. Every betrayal, the lesson I've learned.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satan and Coffee. I am Adius Dade. and this is the Sunday edition of Satan and Coffee, where we go a little bit longer, a little bit harder, and I bitch about whatever it is that I need to bitch about, regardless of what people think about what I'm bitching about. And today, to bitch with me and talk with me, we have Hearse Man, or AKA the Altar of Darkness. How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going good.
That's good. That's good. So you said in the chat, so for those that don't know, Hearse pulled up. There's such a double meaning to that. The Hearse pulled up in the chat on one of the episodes. I think it was it Apocrypha, or was it this Friday? When did you come in?
It was last Sundays.
Last Sunday's. Okay, Satan and Coffee. That's right. Okay. And I just happened to mention that because we're talking about Christianity, and we're talking about, how irritating Christians are in the chat, generally speaking. And you'd mentioned that you were a pastor. Like, there was a specific identifier there, though. It was like, what kind of pastor were you?
I was a deliverance minister.
That's it. A deliverance minister, which is that's like next level evangelical, isn't it?
Yeah, casting out demons in the name of Jesus.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So how long were you doing that for?
A little over 25 years.
25 years in the pulpit.
Yes.
No shit. Okay. And what happened?
From day one, I knew I knew where I was standing in the pulpit. What I was doing in ministry was not correct, because I would see people come in and confess, go to the altar, confess Jesus is Lord, wash me of my sins, blah, 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 be baptized, be dunked in water. But you would never see them truly change. It was like they were hoping they would change. It's like they would come in with like a false belief. If I confessed that Jesus is Lord, that their life would change. And you never truly seen people change. They would always come in and just like Sunday morning, Sunday night, sing the songs, God is God, King of Kings, change my heart. And it made me realize there was more to this. It made me realize that maybe what I'm doing ain't correct. So behind the scenes, I was searching and looking.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started, supposedly cast out demons, and you were taught a certain way to do it. And number one rule is you never ask them their rank or where they belong. You're supposed to cast them out and they're supposed to come out. But I realized they wouldn't come out at times. So it made me start investigating, who are you? And why are you here? What's your purpose? And I would start getting names, and it made me start researching the names. And then it made me start realizing that there is some ancient things here that don't coincide with what I believe.
Interesting. So you would perform exorcisms then?
Yes.
Interesting. So, like Latin rites, or like I'm just curious. The only thing I think most people have as far as like reference point when it comes to exorcism is a fucking movie. So
In the Pentecostal non-denominational world, it was more or less they would sit you down in a chair. If it got too bad, they would hold you down. If it got too bad, they would chain you. Some places had beds in the back of the church where they would like tie down the people with restraints and literally be sitting there for hours trying to cast this out. And it got pretty ugly. I mean, what people don't see on camera, it's just like a psychological breakdown to a person. Keep praying in the name of Jesus and breaking this person down till they finally say, yeah, Jesus is Lord, and they admit that something happened, but in reality nothing happened. They just got broken down psychologically.
Interesting. So, I mean, so with my research into like exorcism and the rites of exorcism, things like that, I found that exorcism is more detrimental than it is helpful to the people that are experiencing whatever it is that they're experiencing, whether you want to call it an actual possession or just like, some type of, I guess, like schizophrenic episode or, whatever it may be. Everything that I've seen, is it's more harmful than good.
The problem with the church is they never do an evaluation of the mental mind of the psyche of that person. It's immediately always the devil. It's always Satan's fault. It's always a blame. They never truly do an evaluation to see if it is a mental issue or a mental problem. And then if it ain't a mental problem, they immediately go to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I met Belial, is through that, is because I was dealing with a person and he literally spoke going, that name has no power over me. That name has no decree. I am not going to bow to that name. This person has invited me in. This person has given me stakes to be in this vessel. And that's what got me really looking at the different things, outside of church, because I started realizing they're there. It could be a generational curse. It could be something in the generational bloodline. It could be something someone done in their past life with a past life pack or anything like that that connects them to these beings, to these deities, these kings and queens, infernal, divine. It's a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, get brainwashed in the right hand path of Jesus. It's everything. But if you get down to it, worship songs, things like that, it's nothing but decrees. I am broken. I need fixed. I have fear. And it's just confessions that you're singing and really putting a lot of belief into the fact that Jesus is going to make you stronger or Yeshua is going to make you mighty. And it changes your mind when you get to see things like that, because you realize when you have a person come in that's truly empowered by something else, not of their own being, and it doesn't bow to the name of Jesus, it doesn't break, and then it speaks, I am here for this reason. And then you start looking closely into that person's path and that person, and they may have never told nobody, but earlier in their life they have done, pacts, or they've done witchcraft or black magic, or their mother has done black magic, or their father, and you realize they're dedicated to an altar or they're dedicated to this, and it's in their bloodline. It changes you because you lose all your training and what you've been to school for and all your spiritual belief, because it makes you realize more is there.
Mm-hmm.
And in possessions, you see a lot on TV of people being picked up and thrown across the room and people getting strength and all that stuff. And they're like, well, that's the devil. And you start realizing that ain't really the devil doing that. That is the connection or the pact that person has, what they're connected to, keeping that person safe. It's like they're not allowing that person to lose that grip or that control they have. So you have to really start learning, about the different deities, gods, and the queens, because they all interact differently with people. And when you take away the Christian side and the Jesus side, and you start reconnecting people to their path, to their pacts, to who they are, they start getting empowerment. A lot of people come into this, even in the left-hand path, and they want to use the altar as a weapon, or use the left-hand path as an excuse to go crazy and become powerful, when it really starts in here, in ourselves, our own vessel. And we have to take accountability for them actions. And when you start taking accountability and realizing, yeah, this is here, this is something I can work with. This ain't something here to hurt me. This is something to teach me or heal me or awaken me to who I am. It changes your perspective.
Interesting. So I do have to bring up, because I know that like any of the Christians that come in here and start watching this, or the Catholics that start watching this, I know, I already know one point that they're going to try to latch onto. So I want to get it out of the way. So you had mentioned that the church doesn't, do psychological evaluations and doesn't check to see if there are actual any psychological issues present. I know for a fact that at the very, very least, the Catholics are going to pop in and say, yes, they do, because it's one of the things that the church boasts about, at least the Catholic Church boasts about not openly, not just jumping into doing an exorcism, but checking to make sure that somebody is psychologically sound before they go in to do it. At least that's what they say, right? So you being as someone that was a part of the church, or at least, Pentecostal, can you confirm? Are you saying that they don't do that? That they're full of shit? That they're lying? That they're saying that no, they don't actually go in and check the psychological integrity of an individual before they start performing exorcisms?
There's a certain individual, you can look him up on YouTube. His name is Bob Larson. You may have heard his name. He works with a lot of deliverance and what we're talking about, and he is more or less been through the Catholic ways. I was also through the Catholic ways, and it's pretty much how they check is they ask you, are you hearing voices? Do you have any kind of conditions? Do you have any addictions? Blah blah blah. And they literally just very lightly dust the surface, but it always comes down to Jesus will take care of it. We got you. And that's dangerous because not everything is spiritual. Not everything is a daemon. Not everything is magic. People do have, conditions. People do have, mental issues and mental problems. And too many people, even in the left-hand path, get stuck in, well, it's a curse, it's a hex, it's this or that. And 90% of the time it's not. It's something physical, And I hate to say it, people want to use the excuse in magic, even in the right-hand path, the excuse of using God to look like they're powerful. And it becomes dangerous because that person can be broke, that person, if you're dealing with someone that has multi-personalities or you have someone that's really depressed, that person needs help. They need counseling. They need to be put on that medication. And you have so many people out here, teaching false. And it's like, well, you can't be spiritual if you're on medication, or you can't be spiritual if you're getting counseling or getting help. And that's a bunch of bullshit because you need to be centered. You need to be balanced. It's not all spiritual.
I mean, I completely agree when it comes to, I'm a Dedekind and Baphomet, and balance is the, the big thing, that I always, I'm a proponent of, whatever balance looks like for you in your life. Cause I mean, it's ever changing. Right. And so I think that medication can provide that. I mean, I have been diagnosed with, after years of suffering with this shit and refusing to get a diagnosis, because I don't believe in medication. I'm just one of those people. I don't like taking pills, unless I absolutely have to. But getting older, ADHD apparently gets worse as you get older, and so it's been making my job difficult, all that shit. Anyway, long story short, got a diagnosis. I have severe combined presenting ADHD, and I'm taking Ritalin, and it helps. It has its pros and its cons, but it does help. It helps with the focus. And I'm not going to lie, going in and, sorry, I just got a message. It just kind of threw me off. That's ADHD for you, everybody, right? Something comes in and it's just like, wait, what? And then whatever it was you were fucking saying, it just goes down the drain. It has its pros and its cons. And I've noticed with ritual work and stuff like that, if I'm still, if it's still active, it's still within that 7 hour active window of the Ritalin, like even my ritual work benefits. So to sit there and say, for anyone to sit there and say that, like, you know, you can't be spiritual or you shouldn't be doing this or that while you're on medication, that's just kind of ridiculous. So Mark 5, so our resident Christian, he's an Eastern Orthodox Christian, put in the chat, says Catholic Church does require real psychological evaluation, whereas Bob Larson is more of a fraud showman. Yeah, I mean, I've seen Bob Larson in memes. Like, I think he was yelling at somebody outside of a van or a truck or something. I don't know. Like he got out, he was at an airport or something, and somebody's asking him questions, and like, dude looks demonic. Like Bob Larson, like when he gets into it, like I don't think he's got the power of God going through him. I think that man, like, you know, has something else going through him. I don't know what it is. I mean, it might be, you know, methamphetamine, but it's something going on there.
It's got to do with all power suggestion. You know, if people can come in and be a complete ass and whatever in their life, and now they're finding, oh, I can come here and act like there's a demon in me or whatever, you know, it's an excuse, and people be like, well, now I have a demon, it's coming out of me, now all that's forgiven. And it's really crazy to think about, you know, that people literally give control like that. They literally give their self away like that, hoping they get freedom, you know, hoping they find a place of non-torment in their life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when it comes down to like that kind of stuff, like I think so. My introduction to the left-hand path. So my mom's a witch. For those that don't know, I keep talking about that, right? But you know, so my mom's a witch. So I definitely, most of my life growing up, have had contact or like some type of connection to it. But growing up, obviously, like, I mean, I grew up in a Catholic household because, you know, my mother's husband, my stepfather, his parents were Italian and Polish. And so there's very Roman Catholic household, very Old Testament, fire and brimstone, everybody. Right. And so I had a kind of like a point in my life where I had to sit there and I had to actually like sit and think like, okay, like, do I believe in God? Do I believe in the church and stuff like that? And it wasn't until I moved in with my dad, my biological father, for like 9 months, before he like got rid of me. Right. And actually went to Catholic church. I taught Sunday school, for a summer. I got kicked out of that because I taught the kids how to say Ave Satanas, and I told them just like it means like Jesus is great or some shit. Like, like, I mean, it was a bad thing to do. I kind of feel bad about that now, but like, because they're kids, right? They didn't know any better. But you know, it is what it is. I was very rebellious back then. I remember the church didn't want me going in there because there was one of the last Sundays before my dad got rid of me. I walked in with, I don't know if you guys or any of you in the chat are old enough to remember this t-shirt, but there's an old Marilyn Manson t-shirt from his first album, not Antichrist Superstar, but the one before it, the Portrait of American Family, that has like him like inside of like a TV screen kind of thing. And on the back, it says, I am the God of fuck. And so I had that shirt, and I went to church wearing that shirt. Like, I had a button down on, and I took the button down off as I was in the church. And people, like, there's a lot of people like, so yeah, I was, I mean, I've been baptized. I did the first communion thing. I was confirmed, whatever, taught the Sunday school stuff. And I think it was through that I kind of, I couldn't deal with the avoidance of questions. Like, you have a question, like at the time, like, you know, I had legitimate questions. I was like, you know, what about this? What about that? And what about the next thing or whatever? And most of the time what I would get is, it's a mystery of the Bible. We don't question it. And I'm like, I mean, that's just completely against fucking human nature, man. Like, I mean, we're inquisitive creatures. I mean, that's why we are where we're at. That's why we have religion to begin with, because we ask questions, because we're looking for answers. That's what it's ingrained in our fucking DNA to ask questions, So to sit there and say, well, it's a question, it's a, matter of the Bible, we don't question it. And it's like, what? No. And so I did my own research. I read the Bible 3 times back to back, Old Testament, New Testament. I've read the Torah. I've read the Quran. And I just absorbed everything I could, and it just didn't fit. It just didn't work. It was just too much shit that just didn't make fucking sense. And no priest could make it make sense. And I was just like this. Yeah. And that was kind of like my being told not to question things will always be a red flag. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I remember, hearing what you're saying, I remember, quite frankly, we had a person come in and took him to the office, literally dragged this person to the office, and they're holding this person down, and Samuel comes through. And at that point, I was still on the fence of what's good, what's bad. I had to get rid of all that stupid thinking. And he said something to me that woke me from that day on. It made me really investigate my life and look at my heart and everything. Is he said when Jesus died and his spirit was going to heaven, what did he say? He said, "We shall do greater works than he." And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, "What does that mean to do greater works? What do you have to become? A God." And I'm like, wow. Because you taught your whole life on the right hand path that you have no power. You have to believe in power and worship and offerings and tithes and all that. And he's literally telling me you can become your own power, your own God. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. And this person never had a problem, it just happened to this person. I think Samuel encased this person, this vessel, just to speak to me, because it was about a week later I left the church.
That's crazy. And did you find it difficult at all? Like that transition? Like, I mean, what was that transition like for you?
It was really wild because the same week that happened, we had this guy come in from Africa. I'll never forget his name. He was Cliff, and he was whiter than I've seen, and I didn't expect it because he just seemed like a normal person. Like he was shiny, saying, like he had that shine to him. You can see that if you know what I'm talking about. There's shine to him. And he called me up front, and he was preaching, and he whispered in my ear, "You will not be in church much longer. This ain't where you belong." And he punches me in the stomach. And when he did, I landed about 4 pews back. And he picks me back up. And the dude was a big dude. So he just picks me up, no problem. And he whispers in my ear and he goes, "He's a shaman. He works with this. He works with that. He works with this. He works with that." And he's about to die. And he's passing that knowledge to me. Yeah, a lot opened up that day. And believe it or not, a week later, the dude was stepping onto an airplane and died. You know, but when that happened, it opened my knowledge up to something that I was looking for. Because when you're in the church culture, especially in the Pentecostal non-denominational culture, there's prophets, there's signs and wonders. They have altar calls, and people really look forward to those altar calls, hoping they're going to hear from God, hoping they're going to feel God. And it really makes people dive into that. And when that happened to me, all that wanting from God, needing from God left because it felt like, it's weird to say, I felt like I was severed from that weight of needing to be evaluated by God or needing that protection from God. And it made me realize I have this myself. And then it started going down in my thoughts, You lay hands on people in the name of Christ. You know, Christ needs you to lay hands on people for them to be healed in the Pentecostal church. What are you really doing? You're healing. You're using Reiki. You're using your own energy. You know, anything you do at the altar, you're doing in your own will. So it was a very fast breakaway of realizing I've been doing this whole time. I have been doing this the whole time. I've been doing it and giving someone else the credit. And that changes you.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the big, like, I mean, I can echo that. Like, that was definitely one of the big things that for me, when it came to anything I did in my life that was beneficial, you know, needing to give God the credit for it, right? Like, you know, it's like it wasn't me, it wasn't the work that I put in, it wasn't the, you know, 60 hours that I put in 1 week, you know, to get that extra paycheck, or it wasn't, you know, the sleepless nights of, you know, putting a, you know, a thing together to do a podcast, or learning how to do all of this stuff to, you know, get the right audio, to get the right video, to get, you know, get a professional. It wasn't me that did that. It was like, oh, well, you know, bless God, because God, you know, allowed you to do all of these things. And it's like, no, I allowed me to do all of these things. I fucking did it. I put the fucking work in. Right. Where was God during this whole fucking time? Like, right. Like what? Just sitting up there and watching. Right. You know, and it's like you sit there and you think, like, you know, when you see like crises that happen and stuff like that. Like, I mean, the first thing that pops in my head, that flood that killed a bunch of little kids in Texas, you know, like where was God during that? Like where the fuck was God, you know, protecting an innocent child? You know, why are some children born without limbs or born with certain medical conditions? I mean, they're innocent children. And then like the thing that pisses me off the most is like the whole sins of the father type thing, like, which people completely misconstrued, by the way. Completely fuck. I cannot tell you how many arguments I've gotten in on TikTok with people about that point. Right. That is complete. They're so contradictory in the Bible, because depending on where you read, yes, you will suffer the sins of the father. But then, you know, there is another point where Jesus himself supposedly said that you won't be held accountable for the sins of the father. You will not be held accountable for the sins of your parents or, you know, your ancestors. And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not going verbatim, but, you know, so it's just kind of like, if you go Old Testament, yeah, you are responsible for the sins of your fucking parents. You go New Testament and you're no longer responsible for it. So which is it? And, you know, it's like, no, like I'm not. I can't dive into that and believe that because I fucked up in my life, that my children are going to suffer because of it. Right. And, you know, the other thing, like I kind of, like, somebody in the chat a couple of weeks ago said, oh, that's fucking dark. But like, I mean, I said, you know, what God does, if God is real and allows people in heaven, he holds your loved ones hostage to make you believe in him, to bow on bended knee and worship him, so you have the right to go see your loved ones again. I mean, that's what it is, right? Because if you misbehave or you do something wrong, you go against the Ten Commandments or a mortal sin, right? You no longer have access to your loved ones. I mean, it's control through fear. There isn't love there. If you need to scare the shit out of your people, you know, you don't love them.
I used to see it all the time, because I used to do a lot of inner city ministry work. We used to have shelters, family shelters, and all that stuff. And I would see these big preachers come in, and these inner city churches come in, and literally, and I'm sorry to say, I'm not making fun of poor people. We all go through it, but you know, inner city has more poor culture. And I literally would see at times, literally, that preacher be telling the moms with these kids, give everything that's in your purse, every last dime you have. And that mom may only have enough money in their purse to pay the electric bill. What do? They believe that preacher, that God's going to give them more. So what do? Reach into that purse and give God that offering. And then their power gets shut off. And then they go back to the church, preacher, my power got shut off. And what does the preacher tell the mom? You ain't prayed hard enough. Your faith ain't strong enough. God hears your cries and he shall provide. Do they help that mom? No. The church got rich. The pastor got what he needed. But now that mom's losing that kid, the kid's going into foster care because the power got shut off in false hope that God would provide. And it's a lot of false hope and fear. If you don't pay your tithes, you're going to be cursed. If you don't do this, you're going to be that. If you don't believe, you're going to go to hell. It's all kinds of like mental breakdown to make you into a vulnerable piece of shit where you lose all your control, all your power, and you become just a broken vessel. And that's what I tell my students and tell my people, you know, when you come into the left-hand path, yeah, most people come here for power, you know, but you have to realize you have to heal, you have to become, you have to overcome, you have to realize who you are. And so many people call in, and I'm not making fun of Belial or nobody like that. I work with them, but a lot of people get the idea that they can get a sigil, they can call upon an infernal or God or goddess. You can, but it starts here. Because if we're not prepared to start that cycle of healing and becoming empowered and empowerment, none of that shit's going to matter. Because when you start calling in Belial, the chain breaker, Lucifer, the light bringer, you know, all those into your life, they're not going to, what's going to happen is they're going to amplify what's there. It's going to amplify what's already there in your life. And I'm telling you, we have to be prepared. This false hope and all this stuff, we have to become that vessel and prepare ourselves.
I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, so I do a life coaching. I have a life coaching service that I provide called Infernal Compass. And the easiest way or the best way I know how to describe what Infernal Compass is radical accountability. What I see a lot of people that newly get into the occult, like forget left-hand path, just occult in general, right? Like whether that's fucking Wicca, you know, the Gardenian tradition, whatever it might be, you know, they get into it. They're swapping one sacrifice for the other. They sacrifice their power to God. Now they want to sacrifice their power to a demon, you know, and it's like, you need to pick, you need to learn first and foremost that what your own power is. Like a lot of the time, I'll be honest, like, I mean, I don't think a lot of people in the left-hand path, a lot of people in demonology don't like this. When I do a ritual for a client, a lot of time, I'm not calling on anything. I'm using my own power. I'm using my own ability. I don't call on a demon every single time that I do a ritual. And a lot of people don't like, well, what power do you have? I have quite a fucking lot of power. I have a lot of power. Right? Me as an individual, me as Addy as fucking Dade, like I have a lot of fucking power. I don't need to call on a demon every fucking time I want to do something. I don't need to invoke a god every fucking time I want to do something. Right? A lot of the time I just need to sit inside of myself and pull that shit out. And a lot of people miss that. They miss that point in the practice. You got to work on yourself before you go in, you start working with something else. You know, you just have to.
You have to let go of the process that's already put you in that place. So many people come into this thinking that they can call upon something and it's going to magically happen or magically heal them or magically break their addiction or their depression or whatever. If it wasn't happening before you called that in, it ain't going to happen now, because you are the vessel. You are your own empowerment. And when you start letting things go, I mean, I don't know why I'm going this way, but I guess I am real quick. I hope that's okay. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror and literally forgive yourself and let shit go. Mm-hmm. And until you learn how to let shit go and forgive yourself for shit, I mean, if you've been in church 25 years and you've been walking that path, have you forgiven yourself? Have you really forgiven people that hurt you? When you forgive yourself, I'm telling you, it's a very powerful tool, and a lot of people can't do it.
No, they can't.
Can't do it.
I can tell you, for me, one of the most difficult things for me to do continually, like it's never gotten easier, in shadow work is mirror work. Whether that's black scrying mirror or just looking at in the fucking bathroom mirror. Like one of the hardest things for me to do is mirror work, like looking yourself in the eyes and actually having that conversation with yourself. Like just thinking about it makes me feel uncomfortable, which makes me say that I need to do it more often. but that's part of the work, right? Is you do need to forgive yourself. You do need to have that conversation with yourself. You do need to have the conversation, with the critical parent, with the compassionate parent, with the inner child. You need to have those conversations. There's a lot of psychology that goes into it. Why do you think a lot of the people in the left-hand path, are so into fucking Carl Jung? Jungian psychology is like a fucking backbone to the left-hand path, right? You look at like the Satanic Bible. The reason why the Satanic Bible was so influential in occult practice isn't because of Satan. It's because of the work that the Satanic Bible requires on the individual, right? It is like a combination. If you took Friedrich Nietzsche and you took Carl Jung and you mixed them together and they had a baby, that would be the Satanic Bible, right? Philosophically speaking. And, you throw away all the, the mystical hubbub and bullshit, that's in there. And some of it works, like whether you do it atheistically or theistically. I worked it theistically, and I got significantly more, I think, results from it. But that's a different conversation. Philosophically speaking, you look at the Satanic Bible. I mean, it's a fucking guideline on how you need to deal with yourself first before you decide to start dealing with anything external. If you can't deal with the internal, you can't deal with your own shit, then how are you going to expect to deal with anything outside of yourself? And I think a lot of people glaze over that idea, and a lot of the people that are like what some people I guess would call tourists in the occult are the people that when they finally learn, it's like, well, shit, I need to do a lot of work on myself here. They back out because they don't want to do the work. They want to sacrifice their power. I don't want to sacrifice my power. Like understanding that, like when I go into a ritual for a client or I go into a ritual for myself, that's coming from me. That's me. There's nothing more powerful than that.
That's one thing that the church, and I might get some hate, and I don't really care. Hate's good. It's free promotion. The church, even with AA and things like that, what do they want you to do? Admit. They want you to admit that you're something. They want you to take credit and hold and keep yourself in that place and confess you're something. If you confess you're something long enough, you're going to become what you confess, and it's going to be very hard for you to break. When you start realizing there's a lot of power in your tongue, what you speak, how you speak, and what you speak, you're going to realize what you speak, you place in front of you. If you keep speaking negative, you're going to have negative. You speak positive, you're going to have positive. And when you start having these pep talks and start realizing, I got this. I'm doing this because I was hurt, or I'm doing this because I'm trying to escape, what I'm trying to hide. And you start learning to let that go. You start becoming a powerful practitioner because you're healing from within. And then you can start adding altar work and start adding what you want to add into it, because I'm going to tell you this. When you start adding in some of these darker infernals, they're going to amplify. They're going to amplify. And a lot of people don't talk about how they amplify and what they amplify. But if you have addiction, depression, heaviness, a lot of that stuff you already deal with, bringing them into the circle is going to amplify. And I'm going to tell you, that's why so many people go into, I hate using the term, it's so played out, but spiritual psychosis. People literally get stuck into a circle where they can't get out. It's because they haven't healed to the place to let it go. They've accepted that they are something because they've confessed it so long.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So we're getting some comments in the chat here that are a bit ridiculous. So when I talk about, just to clarify here, just so people don't misconstrue what I'm saying, when I talk about my own power, I'm not talking about becoming anything. It's if you think about Carl Jung's individuation and the integration of the shadow, right? You're talking psychology. You're not talking, we're not talking mysticism. We're talking how the human brain actually works, how overcoming trauma works, right? And it is extremely important to work through individuation and integrate the shadow and work through your traumas. And shadow work never ends. There is no end to shadow work. Like there is no point A, point B. It is there are nuances from the moment that you're born, from the moment you start working your shadow work, and then to the moment you die. That's it. Like there's just nuances.
Yeah.
Like, but that shadow work never ends. Like there's always going to be something that you need to integrate into yourself, right? To kind of become a better version of yourself. I mean, and it's funny when you talk about, the power of words spoken, right? It's funny that like the first person to make that a popular concept was fucking Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Metal Ed, do you really have to be rude like that? You think it's ridiculous? You support your enslavers? What enslavers? Well, what are you talking about? Like, what do you like? You're just saying shit to say shit. Like, do you feel better? Do you feel important? You put a couple of big words down, right? You claim to be something that it's very obvious that you could never be. I mean, I will never understand people, man. Like, honestly, I will never understand people. And I know the best thing to do is to ignore the trolls. I know it, but sometimes it's fun to fuck with them. It is.
Yeah, it's like the other thing is a lot of people don't realize when you're coming into this path, if you do have a lot of religious ties, a lot of religious history, you've been baptized, I would highly recommend getting an unbaptism. And I know a lot of people don't talk about that, but disconnecting those vows, disconnecting those pacts so you can become your own. A lot of people walk away from the church and walk away from those vows and they never get broken. And you have to realize them confessions, those baptisms, those are pacts. And a lot of people don't talk about it. And you will find a lot of times that is something that could be holding you back into finding your own power also. Because you're going against something that you confess, something you said was God. When you confess, Jesus is Lord, you're confessing someone over your life. You're confessing someone over your atmosphere. And trust me, I've seen enough of it where you have to have that disconnect. It's something you really have to look into.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, I've done my own, kind of. I guess you could call it at the time I called it a reverse baptism, right? Like, but it's kind of, you do it to yourself, right? Like you don't call on anything. At least I didn't call on anything to do it. Like I sat in front of the altar and it's like, I wholeheartedly denounce this.
Yeah.
And, that was, a moment, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, for kind of like my growth as a spiritualist. I don't know, man. Like, I'm sorry, like my ADHD is really kicking in. Like I got the comments. I'm trying to stay on track here. Oh fuck! And it's great. I mean, and you say you perform the unbaptism for people, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And where can people like look into that if that's something that they're interested in?
I have my link tree here on my YouTube. You can go to that. It offers all my services. The unique thing about my services, and I have a bunch of different things from A to Z, is I don't have a set price. I let you pay as you're led. I let this be your altar. So that's what makes it different with me is none of my services are on a paid scale because I want people to come in and literally get what they need at that moment.
Okay. 1 second. Unsought Seeker, it is my absolute pleasure to bring people together under this path, under this direction, under this idea of learning about oneself. To roughly comment on what AI put in there, there's somebody in the chat actually named AI. about using technology to become a god. So here's the misconception that a lot of people have about self-deification. And I find this absolutely fucking ridiculous, and it irritates the shit out of me every time I hear like people talk about self-deification in the sense of like becoming a literal god. And no, I'm not getting into that subject. We're not talking about that organization. I don't have any beef necessarily with that organization, so we're not gonna get into it. But people talk about self-deification in the sense of the idea of becoming an actual living, breathing God on earth. You can't. Stop. That is Hollywood. That is fantasy. That is... You will never become an actual God. Human beings cannot become gods. Yes, we are spiritual creatures. We are intellectual creatures. We look for answers. Spirituality, to a lot of us, provides some of those answers. Some people are fine not having that. That's great. But spirituality, we use it to find answers where we can't find them elsewhere. You can become a god in the sense of understanding your own power and your own control over your own life. It's a very simple concept. You don't like where your life is? Change it. You don't like your job? Change it. You don't like your relationship? You're in a toxic relationship? Change it. You have the power to make, even though you feel under somebody's thumb, you feel like you can't do this, you can't do that, you have the power to do so. Am I saying, again, and I hate the fact that I have to explain this, that this isn't common sense, but when I say change your job, I don't mean quit your fucking job so you can't pay your goddamn rent. I mean, you've got a phone, which is essentially a computer in your pocket. You can revise your resume and you can start sending out resumes to other companies that you want to work for, that are going to pay you more money. You've put the work in to do the things that you want to do. That's what I'm talking about, right? You need to put your own work in to obtain the things that you want to obtain. It took me being homeless in three different countries, the US, Turkey, and Mexico, for me to sit there and say, all right, motherfucker, what is the common fucking denominator in your fucked up life? You. You are the common fucking denominator.
That's what gets me with so many people, is they are so fearful of being hexed and cursed, and until you realize who you are and your empowerment, and you realize you control your situation, that fear of being hexed, being cursed, and all that stuff will leave you, because you have to realize you have to be Velcro for things to attach to you. You have to let things attach to you. So if you're not living in fear, and you're empowered, you know who you are, you know what you walk with, all those normal fearful things start to leave, and it starts awakening you spiritually. Because too many people get stuck into the point of, well, I'm going to be cursed, I'm going to be hexed, I'm going to be destroyed. Get past that. Realize the empowerment of being a self-deification is you awaken to your own self, creating your own life, your own situation, and making things happen. Instead of having to rely on a God to do it, you are the person. And that's what self-deification is, you becoming your own. And it's hard sometimes because we're so programmed. I mean, you're programmed. You're programmed to let a creator do it. You're programmed to, if you get hurt, you sit there and wallow in the mud. But when you start taking control of the circumstances and you realize, if you don't change the situation, if you don't make it happen, it ain't going to happen. You could be going through a hard time in your life or whatever. If you don't get out of that bed, if you don't get off that chair, if you don't do something to turn your life around, it doesn't matter how much ultra work you do. It doesn't matter who you call in. It ain't going to change. End of the day, you're still going to be in that bed. You're still going to be on that chair because you didn't take the step forward. And that's what the self-deification is, where you're stepping forward. You're becoming empowered.
Exactly. And also, for those that are unaware, I just removed Metal Ed 777 from the chat. If you're not going to provide anything substantial or in accordance with the topic that's in discussion, you're just going to start spitting stupid shit, you will be removed from the channel. Because I'm not going to sit here and listen to nonsense and stupidity. So just so you guys are aware, I'm not going to do it underhandedly. I'm not going to slyly go in and remove it and, say that like I'm taking away his ability to comment on the conversation that's being had. The fact of the matter is he's not commenting on the conversation that's being had. He's having his own conversation with himself that is just distracting and irritating. So now he's gone. And that goes with everyone else in the chat. So if you think you're going to come in here and just start spouting stupid shit that derail the conversation, not going to happen. I won't allow it. So yeah, no, definitely. Like, I mean, and I think that's like one of the biggest things, like with the whole self-deification thing, is that people do have a habit of getting confused because unfortunately there's a lot of stuff out there that, makes people believe that there's this idea of falling into like a Hollywood fantasy and becoming like, I've had people come on here in the past, and like I've mentioned this person multiple times. And I'm not going to mention their name, but I'm going to mention the episode's since been removed for multiple reasons. But I remember we had somebody come on a couple of years ago and started talking about like his first initial like interaction with Lucifer, and then talking about like this black portal opening up above his altar and like a black hand of Lucifer reaching through and grabbing him by the throat. And I'm like, dude, if you legitimately believe that actually happened, you need professional assistance. Like if you legitimately, wholeheartedly believe that actually happened, like in physical reality, I'm sorry, but you need help. Can things happen? Can we see things? Yes, but they happen within the electronic signals. The electronic signals in our own brain manifest things. Yes, it's essentially hallucination. It's I'm not gonna. I can't put it any other way. When you sit there and you see Lucifer in your ritual room or in above your altar, when you see that is a hallucination. Now, it's difficult to describe because I'm not sitting here saying it as a hallucination. It's not real. I understand that when we say the word hallucination, much like when we use the word consequence, we immediately think of something negative. It's not. Consequence is just a reaction to something else that happened previous, right? Hallucination is seeing something that no one else can see. Now, perpetual hallucination, that's seeing something that's not real, right? Like if you're not invoking anything, if you're not pulling anything out, if you're not trying to connect to something and you're just hallucinating all fucking day, again, there's medication for it. Go get some help. But if you're doing a ritual, if you got the incense going, you got the fucking music in the background, you got the candles burning, you are putting yourself into that state of mind. You're putting yourself into that trance to focus in that ritual, and you start seeing shit. That is a consequence, is a hallucinatory consequence of the ritual that you're doing. If that makes sense to people.
I think that's where a lot of people get. All right, I guess I'll go there this morning. I guess I could be that person. How do I say this nicely?
Don't worry about being nice. It's Satan and coffee, so.
Okay, well then I won't be nice. People get so confused and think that demons love you. They think that they're there to be, your family member, and people put so much, human behavior on these daemons, gods and queens. And you have to realize they're there to awaken you, to bring you knowledge, healing, and truth. They're not there to be your fucking family member. They're not there to be your fucking friend. And you're never going to be able to control them. And so many people think they can go to this altar and yabba dabba do you. They're there for you. And you're going to have to realize when you start doing this, it's going to take a part of you. Something's going to happen with you. You're going to lose a part of yourself. And people are not prepared for that. So what happens is they become these TikTok and YouTube occultists where now all of a sudden demons are your best friend. demon is now your family. Now they're sitting there having cheesecake and ice cream with Belial. And people have to get over that because it's bullshit. You know, you're calling upon this ancient gods, this ancient kings and queens for knowledge, for them to awaken you. They're not going to jump in you and all of a sudden you become Belial or Lucifer. They're awakening you, giving you the flashbacks of your past life, letting you see visions, letting you see who you were, so you can reawaken that empowerment of what you were, so you now can become. When you start having to humanize Damians, the gods and the queens, it's because you're not willing to go through the shadow work. You have mommy issues, you have daddy issues, you have issues. Because there ain't no way Belial's going to be sitting in the middle of your kitchen eating cheesecake. It ain't going to happen. That's deluded. Okay?
I mean, well, the thing is like, I find it hilarious because this is something that both myself and Dyra have been putting out there, like, you know, for I don't know how long now, that we've been putting out that these things are not in love with you. They don't love you. They don't care about you. There is an exchange happening, right?
Mhm.
And people get, oh my God, people get so pissed off. People get so pissed off, like, you know, and it's like, understand that if you feel like Lucifer is your daddy and Lilith is your mommy, then that is some shit that you need to work out. That is your emotion. Just like if you're offended, it's not my fucking problem. You feeling like you have like a demonic parents, it's not their issue. That's yours. That's you that feels that way, right? When you call on something and you go through that exchange and you ask something to do something for you, most of the time you're going to get a result to some degree. But you sitting there and appointing them as your spiritual parents is removing, again, power from yourself. That you're saying that these entities, these things are going to take care of me. Take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Stop looking for something to take care of you. Rely on yourself. It's like you don't need external validation. Like if you can't, you're not getting the external validation from society, so you're going to turn around and try to get external validation from a fucking demon. Like, I mean, validate yourself. If you are validating yourself, you don't need someone else to fucking validate. I mean, perfect fucking example, man. Right? I consider myself a conservative, right? Like when I sit there and I talk about like family, when I talk about like my values, like it lines up with American conservatism for the most part. Like my ideals as far as like the nuclear family, the importance of having the father in the home, you know, like all of these types of things, right? But there's the other side, obviously. Like the separation of church and state, that's absolutely necessary. I don't think religion has any place in schools or any type of government office, right? So there's a double-sided sword with that, right? Point being, there are so many people that tell me that I can't be who I am because of one reason or the other. The conservatives tell me that I can't be a conservative because I don't believe in God in the way that they believe in God. The occultists tell me that I can't be an occultist because I'm a conservative. So it's like, you know what? I don't need either of you to tell me what I can or can't be.
Yes.
I don't need your fucking permission to exist. Right?
Yes.
So I don't give a fuck. Right? You can sit there and you can tell me, oh, well, you can't be a conservative. Well, you can't be a Satanist, or you can't be an occultist. Fuck you. I am. Do something about it. Do something about it. Please try to fucking do something about it, because you can't. Right? And the problem is when people fall in and they're like, oh, well, you know, Lucifer's my fucking my demonic dad and Lilith is my demonic mother, or I have a sexual relationship with fucking Lilith or whatever. Right? Bruh, that is your shit, man. Right?
You literally,
getting a validation for your existence demonically isn't a thing. That's you. It's in your head.
I even see it on TikTok in places where people are like, I'm having sex with a Modius. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like if you have to validate yourself as a fucking whore to be a spiritualist, then you're not doing something correctly. They're not there for that shit. They're not there. They're at. And it brings people to a point of fucking confusion because they're not seeing true actions at the altar. They're seeing this cosplay bullshit. They're not hearing
Exactly.
the message. It comes out of you. They're hearing, oh, do this or do no bullshit. It starts here. And that's what the difference is with the right hand path and this path where I'm at now is I had to literally open my eyes after years to realize I have to be the power. I have to become myself.
Exactly. I mean, and it falls like, I mean, going off the topic of spirituality, I mean, this goes like, you see this shit echoed, like, and I'm saying this because we got somebody in the fucking chat named AI, so I might as well go this way, right? You see the same shit with people that have like relationships with ChatGPT. It's like, it's not real. It's not real. Like, the only thing you're doing is showing your incapability of having a real life relationship with another human being. And that is something you need to work on. Like, you bring that shit into your spirituality, that's going to fuck you up.
I was really disappointed in ChatGPT because I was trying to have it tell me essential story being my girlfriend, and it told me it wouldn't go that far. So I was very upset. I mean, I was trying my best.
Right. No, I mean, fucking dude, it's just, oh my God. Like, I'm just like, and like the people that there's people out there that like have like relationships with like fucking sex dolls. Like, they'll spend like $25,000 on like a real life fucking sex doll and call it they're saying it's their wife or something like that. And it's like, how far have we fallen in society that this has become a fucking thing? Like, your spirituality, and the reason I'm bringing this up because it ties into what people are doing to the demonic, right? Like with Lilith and with Asmodeus and with Lucifer and Belial and like all, it's the same trope that's repeating just in spirituality. What happened to self-empowerment? Why do you have to lean on something to feel fulfilled? Why do you not have, why are you sacrificing your fucking power? Where is your power to become, like, and I'm stopping it there, to become everything that you want to be in your life? It's disgusting. It's disgusting to see. And I don't support it. And I don't believe it to be real. I find it to be a psychological disorder. It is mental fucking illness.
It
like,
is.
hate me if you fucking want. I don't give a shit. It's mental fucking illness because there's no power in that. I feel no power coming from you or result in your life that you turn around, you go to the left-hand path, and now you're having a sexual relationship with Belial, for fuck's sake. Like, there's no power in that. You are weak. And you need to own that weakness and integrate it and become powerful. That's what the left-hand path teaches you. That's what this whole thing is about. Like, it's just, and I'm thankful that I finally have somebody on here that like completely like agrees with the direction that I'm talking about this. Like, I've held back on talking about this shit for a while because I don't intentionally want to piss people off. I really don't. It's not an intentional thing because there's a short list of stuff I can do that'll piss everybody off. I don't do it intentionally. Right. But if this pisses you off, then you are one of the people that needs to have therapy. It's that simple. And I support therapy 100%. I think everyone should be in therapy. Everybody. If you can find a Jungian psychologist, do that. They're a little bit more expensive, but I think that they're more helpful. It's not to say that Freud didn't have his points. Like, I mean, modern psychology is because of Freud, but get help. And stop dirtying the waters of something that is so much more powerful than the bullshit that you're using it for.
It's crazy. I've been on TikTok for over 4.5 years, and the things I see on TikTok literally just drives me crazy because it's like you see the stupidest shit. People talk about the dumbest shit, and it seems like those people find their people. That's how their channels grow because they're spewing bullshit and not knowledge, and people are hungry. But you have to realize people will go to what they're comfortable with, what they know. So they'll seek out those people that match their energy. And I'm telling you, you know, I never knew they had Emodius dildos. Okay, I've learned so much on TikTok. And they come in 3 different sizes. Um,
He's got the details
it,
too.
oh yeah, it changes you. They have Belial penises. I mean, they have Lucifer. They make the infernal divine penis phallus section now. And it makes you really wonder. You know, why do you have to use the sexual recognition? Because is that what you know? Is that what you're not healed from? Were you sexually abused? Were you abused by your father or mother?
Exactly. Exactly.
Something you bring it into your path because you don't want to heal and let go of it. So now instead of seeing your father or your mother or your neighbor sexually abusing you, now you're giving it okay to use an excuse to use it, against yourself. And it's sad because people laugh and they're like, "Oh, that's so funny. Someone's having sex with a Modius." And instead of them literally telling that person, like I do, you need to fucking get some help. You need to go check yourself in somewhere because you like lost your fucking mind. They back these people. They back them. Oh, that's
Yep.
cool. That's cool. So what happens to the natural? What happens to the natural person? They forget there's forces out there. So now people are calling in these daemons and things for sexual positions. And what do they bring in? Succubuses, incubuses, darker
Yeah,
energies. And now
they
they're
don't
like,
bring in that. They don't bring in the energy itself. They don't bring in Belial. They bring in a fucking, fucking leech, a fucking parasite.
yeah,
That's what they bring in. Exactly. And I have to say, like, I absolutely adore my wife. She's like, Asmodeus dildos. I beg your finest porn sick pardon. Fucking, that's great. So, and that's another thing too. It's like, like the fact that like, I feel like we're the only occult couple that actually believes in fucking monogamy. Like, I mean, like it's almost like it's such a fucking hard thing to fucking find. So many people think that because we're occultists that like we're open to, you know what I mean? Like going into like group shit. And it's like, if that's what you do, I don't have a problem with it. That's fine. That's cool. That's a way of life that I'm not gonna critique it. Just don't assume that everyone else is into that shit just because you are, right? And because we have occultism in common does not mean that I want to see your wife naked, because I don't.
right.
Like I just like I'm not interested, man. Like it's just like not my thing. But you're 100% correct, because you're not bringing in the only energy. And also it's absolutely like abhorrent that it's gotten to a point in society that because I want to see someone get help for their problems, that makes me a bigot now. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody has a mental illness and I want them to get help, and I want them to be the best versions of themselves, and I want them to get past the things that are holding them back, that now I'm a bigot or I'm a piece of shit because, I'm calling it out, right? Like you can't call shit. I was like, nope. I'm like, well, if you don't like it, then if you go into your echo chamber, live in your fucking echo chamber and be around people that support it, right? Don't get pissed off at me because I don't, right? Because I'm going to call you out on your shit, and I want you to get help. I want you to be a better person, right? And if you don't like that, there is nothing that's forcing you to watch this fucking live, watch my programs, and watch my shit. Nothing. There's no gun to your head. That's the beautiful thing about freedom, is you have the choice to move the fuck on and go to something that is more appropriate to allowing you to feel okay for being mentally ill.
And I think that's where a lot of we get our problems in the occult world is we have occultists teaching that you're going to become a Modius. And then we have other occultists teaching it's okay to fuck a Modius. They're not going in the middle telling you that you're the problem. You need to become empowered. You need to heal. You need to get help. They're okaying that behavior. They're okaying, bypassing the healing of the mind, the soul, the spirit. They're bypassing that point in this path. And they're okaying the fucking bullshit that comes with it. And we have to stop.
It's that professional victim mentality. Is what it is.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a victim perpetually for the rest of your life. And I'm sorry, the left-hand path does not support that. That is the most anti-left-hand path thing that you can do. Like when it comes to radical accountability, allowing yourself to be a professional victim is like the most anti-LHP thing that you can do in your life. Blaming everyone else for your bullshit. It doesn't fit.
But that's all we see now. I mean, that's what's out there now. That's what people are running to, and people like me and you and other people like us, they look at us like, oh, we're the burden, we're the problem, we're the outcasts. No, we're here telling you the fucking truth. If you truly work with, Lucifer, you're going to realize that he's a light bringer. He's going to bring the light to your shadows, your heart, what you are, your issues. But instead of looking at Lucifer as a light bringer, now they look at him as daddy, Instead of letting Lilith come in your life and help you heal your mind and look at where you need to go. Now she's your mommy. People have to contribute something to their brokenness. Instead of saying they're broke, they just connect something else onto it, like another piece.
Exactly. And so for those that don't know, hopefully at some point next week, whether that be Wednesday, Friday, or next Sunday, I'm sure you know who he is. We're going to be having DH Throne on. And I'm really looking forward to that conversation as well. I'd love to get the two of you in a chat together. I think that we would raise some fucking hell on YouTube with that.
Let's do it.
Because the thing is that man seems like he's very in line with everything we're talking about. And I'm so looking forward to having this same conversation with him at some point next week, because we need more of this. Like as much as I hate to say it, it's really turned into. I'm trying to think of a word that I can use that's not going to get me demonetized or banned. It's occultism in general in a lot of places has turned into a suck fest, where it's just anything goes. There's no responsibility. Everything, it's okay to be as fucked up as you want to be and take no accountability for yourself and blame everybody else and say that, you have demonic parents and you have a demonic lover and that you live in the demonic plane and, that's where you exist and you live and, you are some type of fucking demonic guru now because, you believe that, Belial's dick's inside of you and Lucifer's your daddy and Lilith's your mom and, shit like that. And you swing with Asmodeus and it's like, if you don't understand how fucked up all of that sounds, if I just said all of that and you're going, yeah, you're part of the fucking problem, because the whole point of all of this is to wake the fuck up and get off your ass. That's the whole point of it. It's the left-hand path. The reason why the left-hand path has become such a powerful and popular direction for occultists to go is because of the radical responsibility and accountability that is involved in the path. The absolute necessity to understand your responsibility for the position that your life is in.
Taking that self-recognition of who you are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if I'm sorry, like you can't replace a human. It's spelled LHP, not ALARP. It's not LARP. Exactly.
I'm stealing that.
Right, me too. That's good. That's going to become a T-shirt tonight. So, you know, and it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's nothing wrong with understanding. Yeah, like I understood after 3 times of being homeless in 3 different countries, being abusing drugs, right? I was a fucking crackhead for 6 months, like legit. Like I was spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on rock, like fucking consistently every fucking weekend. Right? Like I was blowing my money on drugs. And I blamed the world. Like I'm sitting in a room by myself, a room that I'm renting, a bullshit, horrible fucking room full of mosquitoes because the window wouldn't close, right? Sucking on a fucking crack pipe, you know, not knowing how to pay my fucking rent, going, it's the government's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's, you know, it's this thing's fault. And it's like, it's like you're sitting there, it's like, bruh, sit there and take 5 seconds and look at your own fucking life. Look at what you're fucking doing to yourself. Do you expect anyone to take you seriously if you can't take yourself seriously? Right? You don't go to the gym. You barely fucking eat. You abuse fucking drugs. You blame the rest of the world, and you're fucking right about to be fucking homeless. And the moment that I got kicked out because I couldn't pay the fucking rent, wake up fucking call. It's like, it's you. It's your fault. You are the only consistent fuck up in every single situation here. And unfortunately, yeah, it took me 3 countries to fucking realize it.
That's the other thing about church, you know, and people don't realize they down Christians all the time, but the tenacity they have. They get up and go to, you know, church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday. They're there. You know, that tenacity is there. Do we have that tenacity? Most don't. Most don't go to the altar. Most don't spend time, you know, pep talking themselves. Most ain't putting that kind of effort into it. You know, when's the last time have you went to the store and told somebody Belial loves them or Akate loves them? You know, when's the last time have you done that? You know, and a lot of people are saying, well, that sounds crazy. But when you start putting that same tenacity into your walk, into your path, shit's going to change. You know, and it's something we need. You know, people need to get that endurance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once I realized that was the issue, I've got a job that I like. I have businesses that I run that are functional. I live in a wonderful house. I have a beautiful wife. I have a baby on the way. You know, everything came together. Now, was that Belial that did that? Was that Lucifer that did that? Was that Lilith that did that? No, it wasn't. Was it God that did that? No, it wasn't. It was me. It was me that did that. But I also realized through everything that I went through and being left-hand path, what it meant to be left-hand path, what it meant to work with the demonic. Belial will flip your shit. Belial will flip your shit like nothing before. In your mind, it will make you realize like how fucked up the people are around you, how fucked up, you know, like the way that you're living is and what needs to change. Lucifer will go this way. Do this. This is what you want. This is the path. I'm lighting it up. Fucking follow this shit. Do it. Okay? Right? Lilith, like for me, like suppressed, you know, sexual abuse and shit like that as a kid, right? Really opens it up. Like really kind of goes, it's not your fault. Like it happened. Don't let go of it. Don't avoid it. Don't ignore it. It's there. Integrate it. Bring it in. Yeah. What do you need to do differently to expulse the bad behaviors that are happening because of it? Right? What's breaking down your mentality because of it? But who does the work? I do the work.
Do the work.
If you don't do the fucking work, nothing's going to happen. And I feel that all of these people that are transforming the demonic into things that they're not, I really don't feel like repeating everything again. Like it's kind of disgusting to repeat it, to hear it coming off of my voice. So just perverting the demonic. These people that are like transforming the demonic into something that they're not, perverting the demonic. It's not what the left-hand path is about. And I promise you, whatever you think you're talking to, you're not. That's one thing I think any occultist, any left-hand path demonolator worth their fucking salt will sit here and will tell you to your fucking face, I don't know what it is that you're fucking, but it's not Belial.
Yeah. Truth.
So, and I'm sure when we have DH Throne on, I'm sure that gentleman will also echo that same sentiment. And I know that Dyra will tell you the same thing. I will tell you the same thing. Hearse will tell you the same thing. Right? I'm willing to bet any fucking money if I could get Coetting on here, Coetting would say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Coetting would fucking echo that. Curtis Joseph would fucking echo that. Any demonolator, any occultist worth their fucking salt will echo the same sentiment. So
people get stuck in a place of excuses. It's almost like they're in a merry-go-round. You know, they get into that excuse mode, so they bring it over from wherever they're coming from and bring it into this path, and it never ends. You know, it just, the names change. You know, the sites change, but the situation never does, because that person's so used to not taking accountability. And all these excuses that we're talking about is you not taking accountability, you sitting down and realizing who the fuck you are and what you need to do. You know, getting in front of that mirror and talking and letting those tears shed and realizing I may, you know, my life may have been shit or shit's happened to me. But when you realize that person may have forgot what they did to you, that person's living their life, that person may have forgot what they did to you or whatever, and you're still holding on to it because you've allowed them to entrap you, to hold you back. When you realize you don't have to forget what happened, but you can transmute that, you can let that go. You know, that's what your altar is for. Why are you letting people hold you down when you can literally go curse the shit out of somebody, take their bloodline down? You know, start changing the circumstances and take control of that empowerment. And when you start realizing you can take control, you'll no longer be in that cycle, that circle, that spinning place, because you'll realize I can stop this. They can no longer hold me down. They no longer keep me in a place of depression, addiction, bondage, because I'm not going to allow it. You have to realize when you allow it, that addiction, staying in bed, that's escaping. That's so you don't feel that pain. You don't have those memories. It's making you escape as a person. But when you wake up and you realize I have to deal with this pain, and yeah, it's going to hurt. You're going to cry. It's not going to be comfortable. But when you start detaching and that no longer becomes a hold, you're going to realize who you are and how powerful you are. And as an occultist, as a witch, it's going to change you, because you're now taking control of that circumstance. You're now taking control of your actions. Your spells are going to become more powerful. Your connections with what you work with are going to become stronger. And you are going to become so powerful. So, if anything today, from me telling you from going from the church to this, it's time to pull up your boots and realize you have to take action. You have to forgive yourself, and it's time to take control.
100%, 100%. And I think that is a perfect spot to end at. So, Hearse, tell the people where they can find you and your stuff.
If you look here on YouTube, it says Linktree. If you look at Facebook, you just look up Hearse Man. You can find that ugly face right here. TikTok, The Altar of Darkness. And here on YouTube, of course.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, definitely check out his stuff. I would definitely recommend. I think he's the first person I've seen mention offering an unbaptism ceremony for clients. So I would definitely take the man up on that, because I know that I don't offer that, and I'm pretty sure Dyra doesn't offer that. So he's the first one that I'm aware of that offers a ritual for that. And I definitely think that would be a good step forward for anyone that is looking to kind of take their shit to the next level. So I definitely look into that and, give the man your money, because it's definitely worth it. So with that being said, everyone, thank you all for being here. I know I've probably pissed off a lot of people, but I really just don't give a shit. I never have. Anyone that knows me knows that I don't give a fuck. So this is a great fucking conversation. Thank you all for being here. You guys are fucking amazing. You are the reason that we continue to do this every fucking week, almost all week. And as always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.